Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today, we're obviously here to talk about how the CCP is using the law to silence its critics and enforce its rule. To do this, the CCP in America is sending cease and desist letters to various critics, and we've talked about that. Scott Paul was sued in U.S. court for saying BYD, a Chinese car maker, is controlled by the CCP. And as we heard, Ms. Puglisi received a cease and desist letter after reporting on another company's ties to the CCP. Folks, these are not ordinary libel threats. That's because companies like BYD are not ordinary companies. Under Chinese law, they must, quote, cooperate with national intelligence efforts. And interestingly, CCP cells are embedded in their top management. As you can see in this particular picture of the management of a BYD factory in Hefei, China. This is their CCP cell that runs that factory. So, Dr. Goldenziel, these defendants in American libel suits are essentially up against potential instruments of the Chinese government, right?
Yes.
I feel the decks are stacked against these defendants. If you've been sued for saying a company answers to the CCP, you need to prove that that is true to win your case in America. However, much of the evidence to prove that allegation might be in China. So, Mr. Jaffer, as you can see from this headline in Reed Smith, getting this evidence can be difficult because of the PRC's national security laws, right?
That's exactly right. It's exactly why we should dismiss cases if they don't give us the evidence.
It's very one-sided. There's an asymmetry here. They can get information about us. We can't get information about them. We can't defend ourselves in suits here. Let me turn to another topic. CCP-backed litigants are also suing foreign companies in China. This includes so-called, quote, anti-suit injunctions. These are court rulings that prevent a foreign company from suing a Chinese company anywhere in the world. When Oppo, a Chinese company, infringed the patent of Sharp Electronics, Sharp sued Oppo in Japan. But Oppo countersued Sharp in China, where the court ordered an anti-suit injunction against Sharp to pay a 1 million yuan per week fine if it tried to protect its IP. Now, Dr. Goldenziel, these anti-suit injunctions are an example of the court in China serving the overall work of the CCP, right?
Yes, Congressman, it seems that way.
Let me show you a picture here. Companies like Sharp can't just ignore these judgments because Sharp has multiple factories in China, including, for instance, this particular factory in the city of Changshu. Dr. Goldenziel, if companies like Sharp don't comply with these anti-suit injunctions, the CCP could seize their Chinese assets and potentially impose exit bans on their executives, right?
Yes, Congressman, that's correct.
And that's why these anti-suit injunctions in China are so harmful. Let me turn to my final topic. So the CCP can sue Americans in America, and they can sue Americans in China, but in contrast, it's virtually impossible to sue the Chinese government, and it's very hard to sue Chinese companies. There's a gross asymmetry about this situation. Mr. Jaffer, it's unthinkable that an American company could sue, for instance, one of those Chinese national champions in industry in China and stand a chance against them, right?
You'd lose 100%.
Okay. Well, in American courts, suing those Chinese companies is equally difficult. We have a Reuters article up here. Interestingly, Dr. Goldenziel, because many Chinese companies are state-owned, they often try to claim they have sovereign immunity, right?
They do. Fortunately, our courts have done a pretty good job of throwing these suits out on that claim.
So they first throw up that smoke screen that they are somehow a sovereign, and if you're allowed to sue, it's virtually impossible to, for instance, take depositions because China doesn't allow it for U.S. citizens. In fact, for U.S. litigation. In fact, American attorneys can be arrested for taking depositions in China. Isn't that right, Dr. Goldenziel?
That is correct, and the U.S. State Department has put out a warning to this effect.
Taking depositions could be harmful to your health. The CCP has found an asymmetric tool. They can successfully sue American companies and individuals virtually anywhere, but we can't sue them virtually anywhere, and we can't defend against their suits virtually anywhere because discovery is almost impossible. This is very concerning and something that I think our committee should take up. Thank you very much. I yield back.